Good morning, Year 9, and a Happy New Year to you all. We're starting a brand new topic today, which is focusing on romantic poetry. And the reason we're doing this is it's all about getting you ready for GCSE in Year 10, Year 11, and some of the poems that we'll be studying in this unit will be the same poems that you'll be needing to know and really understand in your GCSE exams. So we're going to take some of the ones from Year 10 and 11, plus some ones that I really like and that I think are important poems, and we're going to kind of study them one at a time and then build up over the course of the weeks into comparing poems, and then eventually you'll do an assignment where you write an essay um, comparing one poem to another poem and kind of exploring how different poets approach similar kind of ideas or topics. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Um, and obviously the uh, the assessment will be done at the moment online. If you've got any problems at all throughout our lessons while we're away from school, you can email me or put a note in the Google Classroom stream, and then we'll try and sort out whatever problems you've got. Okay, right, we shall move on. So our first poem is called La Belle dans Merci. Okay, and that obviously is in French, and it means the beautiful lady without kindness. Right, it's written by a poet called John Keats, and this is one of the poems that is in the GCSE collection. Okay, and here is an illustration of the actual poem. You can see we've got a beautiful lady up here, and we've got a knight in shining armor down here. Come back now, and he looks, as you can see, in a kind of not the traditional knight in shining armor kind of pose, which is like, with a sword in his hand or riding on his horse. He's kind of collapsed in a heap on the floor. And I've just jokingly put in some speech rules there. Okay, so this image that you're getting here, this picture, is something that to hold in your head as we go through the actual poem. So before we read the poem, I thought I'd just give you a little introduction to what the poem's about. So the plot of this particular text is the poem describes the story of a knight who has had a romantic encounter, I should say, what we might refer to as a one-night stand, with a mysterious woman. She has seduced him, taken him to her magical cave, lulled him to sleep, and then abandoned him. Whilst he was asleep, the knight's dreams about the woman's previous victims, they kind of appear to him in a dream, and they warn him of the danger that he's in. It is too late, however. The knight is already tormented by the memory of her, and she's kind of left him in a really bad way. The plot twist in this poem is that the poet Keats is reversing the traditional medieval romance, the idea of the knight in shining armor rescuing the damsel in distress. Traditionally, the knight would be someone do something heroic and be rewarded with the affection of the woman who needed help. Typically, this will be a marriage and they live happily ever after kind of story. This poem is a rejection of those stereotypes, and instead it's the knight who needs to be saved from danger after being ruined by this dangerous woman. So, it's time now, guys, to read the poem. Oh, what can ail thee, knight at arms, alone and palely loitering? The sedge has withered from the lake, and no birds sing. Oh, what can ail thee, knight at arms, so haggard and so woebegone? The squirrel's granary is full, and the harvest's done. I see a lily on thy brow, with anguish moist and fever dew, and on thy cheeks a fading rose fast withereth too. I met a lady in the meads, full beautiful, a fairy's child. Her hair was long, her foot was light, and her eyes were wild. I made a garland for her head, and bracelets too, and fragrant zone. She looked at me as she did love, and made sweet moan. I set her on my pacing steed, and nothing else saw all day long, for sideways would she lean and sing a fairy song. She found me roots of relish sweet, and honey wild and manna dew, and sure in language strange she said, I love thee true. She took me to her elfin grot, and there she gazed and sighed full sore, and there I shut her wild, wild eyes with kisses for. And there she lulled me asleep, and there I dreamed, ah, woe betide, the latest dream I ever dreamed, on the cold hillside. I saw pale kings and princes too, pale warriors, death pale were they all. They cried, La Belle sans Merci hath thee in thrall. I saw their starved lips in the gloam, with horrid warning gaped wide, and I awoke and found me here, on the cold hillside. And this is why I sojourn here, alone and palely loitering, though the sedge is withered from the lake, and no birds sing. So that's the poem, and hopefully that wasn't too tricky. If you need to go over it again, obviously just rewind the video and go through it again as many times as you want. We're now going to look at the form of the poem, and the form is a ballad. That's a type of poem. It's a very old-fashioned storytelling form. One of the really kind of ancient ways of doing poetry and telling stories. There is an ABC rhyme pattern, and that if you're not sure what that means that the first line doesn't rhyme with the second line, but the second line does rhyme with the fourth line. So the A and the B and the C and the B, the B's are the lines that rhyme, and the A and the C are the ones that don't. So that's how that works. Um, we'll go through that again in more detail in a future lesson. The lines are in what's called iambic tetrameter, which means there's a certain number of beats in every line. Tetrameter means there's 8 beats in a line. You can check that if you want to by counting through. You might notice that there's a few occasions where the rhythm or the beats kind of don't follow that pattern, and it might be interesting to notice which particular lines don't fit in the pattern because it makes them stand out, and that means that those lines potentially are more important than the others. Ballads tend to be quite simple, and the purpose is to make the story easy to listen to, because the ballads are often told to an audience rather than being read by a reader. So, the tradition of telling a story by speaking it is much older than the idea of telling a story by reading it. So, ballads are part of that old kind of oral tradition. Each fourth line in every stanza is short, okay, and that disrupts the regular rhythm of the poem. And this could have a meaning in the sense that it represents the disruption that in the knight's life that he's had because he's been with this particular woman. And the rhyme pattern is also symbolic, as the pattern involves and is focused on broken couplets. Okay, so that means, like I said, the A B C B pattern has got a pair of rhymes in there, but they're not together. And that broken pattern, those broken couplets, represent the knight's heart being broken and the damage that he's suffered by being with the La Belle Sans Merci. And the lines that don't have a rhyme, the A's and the C's, those single lines that don't rhyme with anything, they can represent the isolation and the loneliness that the knight feels after he's abandoned by the beautiful lady without kindness. The poem has got a structure to it. All texts have got a structure of some sort or other, and La Belle Sans Merci is no exception. The poem starts off using a question and answer narrative. An anonymous speaker, a random person, has found the knight in this terrible situation. And in the first three stanzas of the poem, asks the knight questions like, "What's happened to you? Why are you here? Why do you look so ill?" kind of thing. So there's a series of questions to the knight at arms in the first three stanzas, and the rest of the poem is the knight's answer. The final stanza, and the stanza, all that means is the paragraph, the verse in the poem. The final stanza repeats lines from the first stanza, and this creates what's called a cyclical structure. It kind of goes round in a circle, and the effect is that the knight seems to be doomed to stay in this situation forever. Because the story goes round and round in circles, he can't escape, he can't change, he can't get out of the situation. The narrative has got a typical story structure to it as well. There is a beginning, there's a middle, and an end to the knight's tale. And the knight's tale, and this is important for you to remember for your task today, the story that the knight tells is from lines 13 to 44. I'll make sure that's clearly shown on the video so you can see which particular verses to focus on, which stanzas to focus on. The poem is grouped into 4 sets of 3 stanzas. The first is the unnamed narrator questioning the knight. The second is what the knight... I made a little mess there. The first is the unnamed narrator questioning the knight. The second set of 3 stanzas is what the knight did to attract Belle dans Merci. And the third is what Belle dans Merci does for the knight. The fourth is the consequences the knight feels after falling in love with her. Okay, and the effect of having that kind of those 4 stages in this poem creates a feeling of inevitability, the sense that this had to happen. There's no escape for the knight. There was no other way this story could have turned out. So your tasks today, Year 9. First of all, I'd like to reread lines 13 to 44 and make a step-by-step list in plain modern English of what has happened between the knight and the belle dame. So I said in the previous slide, there's these 3 stanza sections. So we're looking at section 2, 3, and 4. And then once you've kind of made that list of all the things that have happened between them in the right order, create a series of pictures to illustrate that list. And then once that, it could be, you don't have to do a picture for every single step, but maybe an illustration for each section, which will give you 3 illustrations. You can do more than that, but that's the kind of thing. So a step-by-step list of what's happened between the knight and the Belle dans Merci, and then once you've got that list all done, then create a set of illustrations to go with that list. And then once that's finished, hopefully it'll be a nice page of A4. Take a photograph and upload it via Google Classroom so I can see it. Any problems, my email is there on this slide, so you can get in contact if there's any particular issues. Okay, so good luck with that, and I look forward to seeing your work later in the day. Okay, take care, folks. See you soon. Bye for now.